without mercy. How much longer must this go on?
Lindsay Hilsum there. Well, a short time ago, I spoke to Sam Rose, who's head of planning at UNRWA, the UN agency responsible for supporting Palestinians. He's recently returned from Rafah. I asked him what he knew about women and children reportedly being killed in that Israeli strike on a UN-run school in central Gaza.
The school was sheltering 6,000 people. Given the population of Gaza, the majority of those people will have been women and children. We've heard reports and estimates of between 35 and 45 people.
I agree the framing is wild because Israel has all the power to stop the warfare, but that guy was literally cursing the leader of Hamas, like word for word. Yeah, of course. I mean, that is also understandable. Guys, I think a lot of people forget that the Palestinian population of the Gaza Strip are not a monolithic force either. Okay? Like, the fuck are we doing? Yeah, it's perfectly valid and perfectly understandable for people to also be very upset at Yahya Sinwar or any number of different like Hamas leadership, depending on what their framework is, depending on what they think is going on. You know, he's looking at a massacred family member. You can't criticize someone cursing the names of who thinks are responsible for the mangled bodies in front of them. Wait, what? I'm not doing that. The fuck are you talking about? I'm not doing that at all. Like, there are definitely people. I mean, there's polling done in Gaza. I don't know how the fuck they do it, but there's still Palestinians being polled inside of Gaza. It's not like Hamas is 100% approval rating. Hamas' approval rating only increases in times of Israel's bombing campaigns, only to decrease later down the line. They're not exactly great at civil governance in general. They're not exactly super popular. They never were super popular. They were never as popular as they are now, all things considered. They've always been more popular in the West Bank than they are in Gaza for the most part. That's really important to remember. But a part of the reason why people are probably frustrated is because of the Israeli narrative that they try to fucking beef up all the goddamn time, which is that oh, they are they're hiding amongst the civilian population, and therefore it gives Israel righteous cause. Now, ultimately, obviously, from where I'm standing, I can make the calculation that it is ultimately still Israel's responsibility. And the example would be if a Ukrainian turned around and was like, God damn you, Zelensky. A Ukrainian in fucking Kharkiv was like, God damn you, Zelensky. Why wouldn't you just like concede to fucking Russian interest? You would never in a million years see that on mainstream media. No mainstream media outlet would fucking show that Ukrainian's perspective because everyone understands it's ultimately Russia's fault. Okay? It's crazy. Except nobody ever fucking makes that analysis because people are desperate to always align themselves with whoever the fuck America has decided are the good guys in every conflict. Okay?
People killed and
yeah, my only thing, my only frustration with this would ultimately still be that it is up to the media to like show what is the prevailing narrative in general, and also beyond that, do their very best to showcase exactly who is responsible. Okay? It's ridiculous. When Russia bombs a fucking civilian, a mall or whatever, nobody goes, oh man, it's really fucked up that like Ukrainian soldiers have frequented this fucking mall. That would be ridiculous. It is still a war crime. Just like what Israel is doing is a war crime. Okay? PCPSR releases polls every 1 to 2 months, and you can compare West Bank attitudes with Gaza. Pretty interesting. Yeah. West Bank is always way more ride or die for Hamas than the people actually living under Hamas by a pretty solid margin. And that is because they don't exist under Hamas, so they only see Hamas as a defensive measure. if you were to poll not Palestinians, but just like American leftists, they would probably be way more fucking pro-Hamas than the entirety of the Palestinian population. That's why you hear a lot of people in the Western world say things along the lines of like, no, these guys have to fight till every last Palestinian or whatever. And that's because like we do have a way more bloodthirsty culture here in the Western world. Ironic because we don't consider ourselves as, under those terms or conditions, but we are way more bloodthirsty than the supposedly barbaric Arab monsters that we are talking about here. But yes, Channel 4 doing this kind of coverage is making it seem as though this is like ultimately Hamas's fault. It's ultimately on Israel as the occupier to not genocide children, but Gazans more than anyone are allowed to criticize Hamas's calculation to October 7th, since at the end of the day, it's on their blood. Yes.
And many injured. We're not able to verify exactly who those people are, but we've seen the footage, we've seen the reports from the hospitals, and it would appear that large numbers of women and children are amongst the dead and injured.
I mean, there has been condemnation from some quarters. Oxfam today has been talking about the carnage of Israel's actions. What do you make of what happened in that facility overnight?
This was an attack on a crowded UN facility that is protected under humanitarian law.
It's protected under humanitarian law and it's run by the UN, but here is my counter. Hamas. I rest my case. I rest my case. Have you considered Hamas? Yahya Sinwar and also Hamas.
And the humanitarian nature of that facility has to be respected by all parties.
Israel says that this UN school was being used as a base by Hamas fighters. So prior to this strike last night, as the UN agency running the school, did you have any information or suspicion that there were Hamas fighters based there?
No, we did not. We did not have any information to that effect. I mean, we're horrified and we're shocked by those allegations, but we didn't have any information to that effect.
You've just come back from Rafah in the south. The border crossing at Rafah between Israel and Egypt remains closed. What is the effect of that?
The border crossing at Rafah remains closed. We are now able to get some supplies in through Kerem Shalom, so some movement of aid has resumed. But look, we were failing collectively before the military operation in Rafah started. The collective efforts of the international community were not preventing people from reaching famine-like conditions in Gaza back in April. Since then, we've only seen a reduction in supplies getting in. So it's likely that the humanitarian consequences and the humanitarian conditions for the people on the ground have deteriorated.
Journalists, this program cannot get into Gaza.
Do you know what Israel's excuse for not having operational control over north and central Gaza? No, they have no excuse. They just, you have to remember, if you believe, like I do, that Israel's higher goal here isn't necessarily to like eradicate Hamas, but instead to eradicate a decent chunk of the Palestinian population that won't go so above and beyond that like the Western world will still give it assurances and support and expend social and political capital to defend them while still giving them a steady flow of munitions, because they would run out of ammo pretty quickly if it wasn't for America. While simultaneously the complete destruction of all civil infrastructure so that Palestinians have nowhere to live but rubble. If that is their ultimate goal, Hamas is good for them. Like Hamas being able to operate in central Gaza and in North Gaza is not necessarily a bad thing. It's a good thing because they can always point to it and go, see, Hamas. Now, of course, that doesn't make sense from the Israeli perspective, because the Israeli perspective should be, what the fuck? I thought you eviscerated Hamas in central Gaza. I thought you eviscerated Hamas in North Gaza. And now you're saying they still exist in North Gaza. They still exist in Central Gaza. Sometimes Hamas even lobs missiles into Israel. What the fuck is going on? Ultimately for them, it's perfect because, as I mentioned, they can simply point to it and say, this is why we have to keep blowing shit up. Anyway.
We can't verify what's going on in there with our own eyes, with our team.
By the way, the reason why people don't ask that question inside of Israel is because the higher goal, the higher purpose of this like siege, just like every other fucking siege, is shared by the broader Israeli public as well. That's the reason. It's shared by the broader Israeli public. They also want the IDF to keep, eviscerating Gaza.
So tell us, from your experience over the past few weeks, what has stayed with you from your latest visit there?
What has stayed with me is the sheer horror of the situation, the sadness, the emptiness, the loss, and the destruction that literally everyone inside Gaza is facing right now, and the conditions that the civilian population has to put up with, that just continue, that go on and on, just doesn't bear thinking about what the reckoning will be for individuals and communities when this finally comes to an end.
Well, just finally, do you detect any hope for a ceasefire? There's this proposal on the table from Joe Biden. What do people make of it in Gaza?
People have...
Yeah, polling throughout the month since October shows the average Israeli doesn't think they're hitting them hard enough. Yes. Specifically, overwhelming support from the Jewish Israeli population, which is comprised of 75% of the Israeli population, has almost always overwhelmingly supported the notion that the IDF is not bombing Gaza hard enough. Even when directly asked about the civilian casualties, that calculation does not change.
Gaza have gone through so much. They've seen so many false doors. They pray for an end to it. They know that at some point it will come to an end. But look, they're just completely exhausted right now, and a real fear that if these ceasefire efforts don't yield anything, that the next phase of the conflict will be even more brutal and even more painful.
Sam Rose, thank you so much for speaking with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
As we wrap up the coverage of the 80.
So yeah, that's the cool little thing that Israel did. Here is the man with the world's largest ears, Daniel Hagari, IDF spokesperson, talking about Hamas terrorists operating inside of UN school.
The IDF conducted a precise intelligence-based strike, targeted dozens of Hamas and Islamic Jihad terrorists hiding inside a UN school in Gaza. Some of these terrorists participated in the Hamas massacre of October 7th. I will soon reveal the identities of some of the terrorists we eliminated. The terrorists were operating from this UN school. They were planning and conducting attacks from inside classrooms of this UNRWA school. Our precise strike was based on concrete intelligence from multiple sources. The terrorists inside this school were planning more attacks.
Oh, why are they speaking in English? You know why. This is for Americans and the Western world to hear. In Hebrew, he doesn't have to make these defenses. In Hebrew, he's just like, yeah, we killed him. It's great. It's awesome. Who gives a shit? But to the Western world, he has to be like, here is why we killed a bunch of women and children today. Knowing full well that a lot more people are paying attention and a lot more people are now associating Israel's bombing campaigns with the negative connotation of killing women and children. Majority women and children, which is what they did again, because this is where refugees were sleeping when they did that.
Against Israelis, some of them imminent. We stopped a ticking time bomb. This is what it was.
Yeah.
Our
No, a ticking time bomb. Every time we blow up a school, it's a ticking time bomb, guys. You don't understand. Okay? It's a ticking time bomb of Hamas.
intelligence indicated that the terrorists were operating from inside these three classrooms. Three classrooms. We delayed our strike twice because we identified civilians in the area.
Wait. Okay. So then why did you stop? So why did you choose not to delay it then? What changed? You still ended up killing a shitload of civilians. What the fuck? I think directly five children out of the 40. And the majority of those killed were women and children again.
We had aerial surveillance that had been monitoring the Hamas compound for a few days. We conducted the strike once our intelligence and surveillance indicated that there were no women or children inside the Hamas compound, inside those...
Wait, so what happened? How the fuck did they... Wait, so how did women and children die regardless?
classrooms. Despite the complex operational conditions, our Air Force used precise munitions to target the three specific classrooms that the terrorists were hiding inside. Here are some of the terrorists who were hiding inside the UN school in Nuseirat, who we eliminated before they could carry out more attacks against Israelis. Hamas and Islamic Jihad terrorists, some from the Nukhba force. Terrorists with blood on their hands.
Bro, you have blood on your hands. Fuck you mean? You are currently describing the blood you have on your hands of women and children. I cannot believe these terrorists have blood on their hands. This is why we had to kill all of the women and children, which were valid.
These are only a few of the terrorists we eliminated. There are more. Some of them took part in the brutal massacre of October 7th. We are working to verify the information.
Yeah, they are really using the defense of if a school shooter was holding kids hostage, we should blow up the school. Oh, 100%. How do we not know that they are just regular civilian men? They could be, or they could be actual Islamic Jihad militants, or even part of the Nukhba force that's just like staying in the UN facility. Not everyone is literally fucking hiding in the tunnels. You have to remember that.
Information before we will share it. This is the 5th time we have had to target Hamas and Islamic Jihad terrorists operating from inside UNRWA facilities. I want to repeat it. The 5th time we are operating against Hamas that is using UNRWA facilities. In the last months alone, Hamas wages war from schools and hospitals. Hamas hopes the international law and public sympathy will provide a shield for their military activities, which is why they systematically operate from schools, UN facilities, hospitals, and mosques. Sadly, we saw some media outlets fall for Hamas's tactics yet again, before checking the facts. While Hamas abuses international...
Does that mean they've only blown up 5 UNRWA facilities? No, they've done it so many times. I guess maybe 5 of them got like international coverage. Maybe that's why he's saying 5. I don't know. I hate it, but I hate blowing up schools, but we have to do it. Hamas is forcing our hand to do it.
International law, the IDF will continue to operate according to international law. The systematic abuse of UN facilities is a war crime, and it must be stopped by the world. We will continue to do everything in our power to bring our hostages back.
It's wait, what the fuck was I going to say? Oh, this is another one of my favorite arguments that Israel deploys regularly. It's like it's Hamas that's doing a war crime. It's not us. They're doing a double war crime because they're causing us to do a war crime by doing a war crime.
Back home and defeat Hamas. As we fulfill this mission, we will continue exposing the true face of Hamas to the world. Thank you.
So, Hamas and Islamic Jihad, usually in Telegram channels, will openly reveal when any of their militants have been martyred. I don't know if they have about these guys. If they will say though, if they have died, if they've been killed, they will say like these were our guys. They got martyred. I don't know. I have no way of checking. Maybe there's people in here that could. I think that people on the ground, people that are there, have said that no, of course they weren't fucking operating out of the UN facility. But you can't really trust them because they're Arab. You know, they're all Hamas, technically. So. But the fact that they're actually showing faces and whatnot probably implies that they were most likely in the facility, most likely staying in the facility. I doubt that they were shooting out of the facility or anything like that. It's just that ultimately, since October 7, there's something that I have brought up over and over and over and over again. Okay? And that is that you cannot conduct a war like this. The reason why they are hiding inside of the civilian population is because more often than not, that is their family members that you are killing alongside them. Okay? We know this from the Where's Daddy AI targeting system that they have, both not just Lavender, but also the Lavender targeting system that is accompanied with the Where's Daddy alert system that informs the Israeli Air Force or the Israeli drone, the Israeli drone strikers to hit certain targets when they go home and are around their families. Elaborate. I have covered this extensively. You can find it on my what the fuck is a Where's Daddy? These people are fucking sick. Okay. I know that there's a lot of new people in here sometimes, or people who haven't seen this, but I've covered this extensively. Here it is. This is from 2 months ago. Israel's using AI to target. Right here from here. This is the video. If you guys want to learn more about it, there's also an article from 972 magazine. That is the article I'm reading here by Yuval Abraham, who found that there is a AI targeting system called Lavender that populates targets for the drones to target. And also on top of that, the Where's Daddy part of that is specifically drone operatives are alerted when a suspected militant is home alongside their family members. That's when they strike. So, something to consider. The subtle tell Hagari just did when he said Hamas was hoping international law and public sympathy would provide a shield. He's admitting that Israel's ignoring the established rules of engagement. No surprise, but it's so blatant. Yeah. Of course. Another chatter mentioned Mohammed and Omar haven't posted today. Two best friends in the war zone. Oh, wait, what? Were they in the facility? No, they don't live. I know for a fact that they don't live next to one another. I don't know where they're staying, but I know from talking to them that they don't, because I was trying to do an interview with them. I was trying to have them on the stream, and I know that they don't live in the same place. Hold on. Where is his account? Let me see if I can find it real quick. Hold on one second. No, he was active 11 minutes ago. Omar was. But yeah, Omar and Muhammad live in different places. What? Read your Ezra Pound World War II transcripts. History you must understand. What are you saying? Wait, what is Hasan talking about? Chatters, explain. What I'm talking about is the Omar and Hertz show. These are two Palestinian kids, Omar Sheridan and Muhammad Ahmad. They have a show where they basically started posting on Instagram about like day in the life from the war zone. And they're great.